I read from the FBI's Office of the Inspector General report, which was publicly released in June 2006. Title: Mihdhar's association with Khallad, the purported mastermind of the Cole attack. Sources: identification of Khallad. In mid-2000, Drug Enforcement Administration personnel arranged for FBI Legal Attaché office personnel overseas to meet a source who had substantial information on bin Laden and his operatives and operations. This particular FBI Legat office was staffed by the legal attaché and the assistant legal attaché, who were FBI special agents. Because of the FBI Legat personnel's inability to converse in any of the source's languages, limits on the FBI's authority to conduct unilateral intelligence activities overseas, and the source's potential value as a source of intelligence information relevant to the CIA, the FBI contacted the CIA for assistance with the source. The source was subsequently handed as a joint FBI-CIA horse, even though the FBI ALAT, who we call Max, was unable to directly communicate with the source due to the lack of a common language. He was designated as the FBI control agent for the source. Because the source had significant information about bin Laden and his operatives and operations, the FBI New York field office, the office that was leading the investigations on the East African embassy bombings, the Cole attack, and other bin Laden-related investigations, also became involved with the source. This joint handling of the source created concerns within the CIA. The CIA's most significant concern was the FBI's desire to use the source for the criminal investigations involving bin Laden conducted by the FBI's New York field office. The CIA believed that the source should not face possible exposure in criminal proceedings. CIA headquarters was asked to work with the FBI headquarters to convert the source to purely an intelligence role solely under CIA control. According to CIA documents, the CIA and the Legat had discussed the FBI's wall, whereby separate but concurrent intelligence and criminal investigations were conducted within the FBI. But the CIA expressed concerns about the CIA's ability to continue clandestine handling of the source if the FBI was involved. Although the CIA acknowledged that the source had value to the FBI's criminal case, the CIA argued that the source's potential as an intelligence asset was more important than the potential assistance in the criminal case. Despite the CIA's concerns, the source remained a joint FBI-CIA asset. Beginning in 2000, the CIA and FBI began to debrief the source on a regular basis. Over the course of several months, the source frequently was shown photographs and asked to identify people in them. Although Max was the source's designated control agent, a CIA officer who spoke one of the source's languages conducted the briefings. Max was present for some of these debriefings, but not all. Some of the debriefings were unilateral CIA interviews. The time spent with the source was kept short because of the issues of travel and security. According to Max, during the debriefings, the CIA officer usually did not immediately translate the source's statements for the benefit of Max. He said that the CIA case officer would only immediately translate something when Max had specific questions for the CIA officer to ask the source. The CIA case officer told the Office of the Inspector General he recalled translating for Max things that the sources said, but he did this only when he recognized the significance of the information to Max or an FBI operation. In an effort not to duplicate the reporting of information received from the source, the CIA and the FBI agreed that the CIA would be responsible for reporting the information from the debriefings. However, in instances where the source was solely being shown FBI photographs or questioned based on an FBI lead, Max would document the source's information, either in an electronic cable or an FBI FD 302 form, and the CIA would not document the same information. After the debriefings, the CIA officer would write internal cables covering the debriefings and forward them to the Counterterrorism Center and other appropriate offices. These cables were internal CIA communications and were not provided to or shared with Max or other FBI personnel. Instead, Max and FBI headquarters would be informed of the debriefings when the information was reported by the CIA in a TD. As previously discussed, TDs were prepared by and to which agencies based on our review of internal cables reporting the source of debriefings and the TD reporting of the same interviews. It is clear the TDs often contained only a part of the information obtained during the source debriefings. As a result, either through direct knowledge or through the TDs, Max had access to only some of the information obtained from the source during the debriefings. In addition to the debriefings of the source by the CIA case officer, FBI agents from the New York field office working bin Laden-related criminal investigations also interviewed the source with the CIA case officer present. Max occasionally was present for these interviews. After each of these interviews, the New York agents documented the source's information in detail in a FD 302 that was entered into ACS and retrievable by all FBI personnel working on the bin Laden cases. These FD 302s were routinely shared with CIA personnel in the field and at the Counterterrorism Center. Over a 3-month period in the year 2000, FBI New York field office personnel interviewed the source overseas 4 times. During one of these interviews, the source described an individual known as Khallad as a trusted senior bin Laden operative with potential connections to the East African embassy bombings. As noted above, on October 12, 2000, 2 terrorists in a boat laden with explosives committed a suicide attack on the USS Cole, a U.S. naval destroyer, during its brief refueling stop in the port of Aden, Yemen. The FBI's investigation into the attack was led by the FBI's New York field office. After the attack on October 12th, the Yemenis provided the FBI and the CIA with information on the bin Laden operative known as Khallad. According to this information, Khallad had been described as the purported mastermind of the Cole attack. U.S. intelligence agencies had already connected Khallad to the East Africa embassy bombings. The Yemenis also identified Khallad as Tawfiq Muhammad Salih bin Rashid al-Attash. On November 23, 2000, the Yemenis provided the FBI with a photograph of Khallad. Around the same time, the Yemenis provided the FBI with several photographs of other Cole suspects. The New York FBI agents investigating the Cole bombing wanted to determine whether the Khallad identified by the Yemenis was the same Khallad who had been previously described by the source. At the same time, a CIA internal cable too was sent several CIA offices suggesting that the photographs of the Cole suspects that the FBI had obtained from the Yemenis, including the Khallad photograph, be shown to the source. Because the FBI did not have the technological capability to easily transmit the Khallad photograph from Yemen to the ALAT, who was handling the source and who we call Max, the photograph was forwarded through CIA channels to the nearby CIA office in order to show the photograph to the source. CIA documents show that on December 16, 2000, the CIA officer conducted a debriefing of the source. Max was present for this debriefing. During the debriefing, the CIA case officer showed the source many photos of coal bombing suspects and other suspected Arab terrorists, including the Yemeni provided photograph of Khallad. The source immediately identified the individual in the Yemeni provided photograph as the same Khallad he had previously described as a trusted senior bin Laden operative with potential connections to the East Africa embassy bombings. The CIA officer prepared a cable documenting the debriefing, which was addressed to several CIA offices. The CIA officer wrote in the cable that the source was shown the many photographs and quickly identified Khallad in the Yemeni provided photograph. Notably, the CIA cable stated that the CIA officer had the source repeat the identification specifically for the benefit of Max. In addition, the cable stated that before the briefing ended, the CIA officer again showed the photographs to the source and asked the source to verify the Khallad identification. Max acknowledged to the Office of the Inspector General that he was contemporaneously aware of the identification of Khallad in the Yemeni provided photograph by the source on December 16th. Max stated that he recalled specific circumstances of the debriefing and recounted them to us. Max told us that he recalled the source immediately identified Khallad in the photograph.